What is going on, everyone? Welcome to our edition of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and join me to talk about the Heisman winner. We're going to do a draft prospect special, 2024, that is, of quarterback out of LSU, Jayden Daniels. Joining me, as always, to break down this tremendous player, former NFL draft scout, draft savant, and of course, you can check him out on firstroundmock.com. Daniel Kelly. What's going on, DK?
Hey, Logan, everything's going the rest of the country right now, but I'm in Key West, Florida, where I live, and it's actually pretty warm out today. And
I'm
so
glad.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if people want to hear that, though, because I'm from Minnesota. You'd be surprised. I don't get many likes on Facebook this time of year. I wonder why.
Surprising. I'm not sure. Why that
Who knows? But I'm doing good, man.
Good. And it is a chilly. Last I checked, it was about 17 degrees here in the Peach State of Georgia. So we are bundled up, and it is very cold. But we are talking about obviously a red hot player on the screen here. Guys, coming off a Heisman Trophy. Can't get any better than that in college football in terms of the awards. Jayden Daniels. So, guys, if you enjoy the video, give us a like, follow, share, and, of course, subscribe so don't miss a single episode. We go live each and every single week on Facebook and on YouTube. Well, DK, let's go ahead and get into it, my friend. Go ahead and break down this young quarterback coming out of LSU with the Tigers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Logan. And hello, everybody. You're taking a look there. He's pictured on your screen, number 5 for LSU, Jayden Daniels, checking in at 6'4", 210 pounds. And kudos, before I even begin, kudos on a great season for Jayden Daniels, capping it off with the Heisman Trophy. He's definitely a guy that deserves a lot of credit for what he's accomplished at LSU. And so far, I mean, I've kind of vacillated on this guy. I've looked at him over the course of 3 seasons. I've vacillated between a second and a fourth round grade on him over the last 3 seasons. I have now studied Jayden Daniels in 21 games. And as we, during the course of the 3 years, and as we've seen throughout the years, great college quarterbacks do not always translate to great NFL quarterbacks. No question. I mean, I want to make this very clear as a talent evaluator. And I talk just like I would talk if I was sitting in an NFL war room with coaches and GMs and front office executives and the owner of the team. No question, Daniels looked the part in 2023, and that's what makes him a very tough evaluation. I like his toughness and his aggressiveness. He ran the ball well. He has a sweet deep ball, 135 explosive plays. Okay. Yes, I get it. Everybody on social media doesn't think I get it, but I get it. Okay. I understand he's got the best deep ball in this draft class. He's the most elite running quarterback in this draft class. Okay. I get that. The biggest concerns I have as a talent evaluator, because when I watch these college quarterbacks, I put on my NFL colored glasses, and the translation is what I'm looking for. And my biggest concerns is somebody who's been in the league, is his thin, frail, slender build. All I can think of when I watched the film at LSU was what happened to RG3 when he took that catastrophic hit when he played the Baltimore Ravens that all but ended his NFL playing career. I posted it yesterday at First Round Mock. I posted it on there at last check. It had over 87,000 views, the post I made about this, and I referenced that hit. It's something where, it's a huge concern. Why is it a huge concern? You're talking about somebody who runs the ball 312 times over the last 2 seasons at LSU. And when I say runs the ball, I don't just mean he slides like he's stealing second. I don't just mean he ducks out of bounds gracefully. I mean, this guy loves full-on contact. He has an insatiable appetite for contact. He runs square into defenders face first. That's a huge concern. Running the ball with the mentality of Derrick Henry when you're built like that slender and thin. You can look at his pictures online. This is the most thin-looking frame quarterback I've seen in over 40 years entering into the National Football League. But being thin isn't the only issue. It's other issues too that relate to him playing the quarterback position. Okay, and outside of him, going to get crushed in the NFL, there are passing concerns. Okay, now the number one concern I have is he leads the offense at LSU with an inconsistent rhythm and tempo. Quarterbacks are like the drummers in a band, okay? They are responsible for setting the tempo on every single play, and the offense kind of, marches to the beat of that drum, much like a band marches to the beat of a drummer. They're the ones that set the timing and everything else that goes on the offense. Timing with an offense is everything. We're talking about timing routes. We're talking about cohesion. We're talking about offensive linemen not illegally being downfield. We're talking about a lot of different factors here to go into this. Daniels, his footwork when he's in the pocket, another concern, and his drop points are extremely unpredictable. And that's an issue too, because it's not, when a quarterback throws the ball to the receiver, old school, it was 3, 5, 7 foot step, drop, fire. And quarterbacks and receivers worked on that tempo and that rhythm and they kept doing it. Daniels, different case. He's all over the road. He's all over the map on his footwork and his drop points and depth points in the pocket before he releases the ball. That's a huge concern. Huge. Another thing is he looks very uncomfortable in his own domain. It's like some being uncomfortable in their own home. He is very uncomfortable in the pocket, and he's absolutely filled with this nervous energy. It's what fuels him. But listen, guys, he plays scared. It's something where it causes him he's so scared that it causes him a lot of times to prematurely take off running and to rush instead of sitting in the pocket with poise and delivering the ball. My other concern, big one here too, is that he has mental lapses. Daniels sometimes will freeze when you're watching him on game film in the pocket like a deer in headlights. This also caused him to hold the ball a long time, which of course is what cleared out all those college level defenses and those big areas for him to run and exploit. And with those big yards on the ground, it's also what's caused him to take 65 sacks. Let's think about that for a minute. 65 sacks over 2 seasons. How is that possible for a guy with elite athleticism and elite running ability to get sacked that many times? Okay, that's the big question that I have. Joe Milton III at Tennessee, who's 6'5", 240 pounds. Okay, and when he's sitting in the pocket, I think he took on like 16 sacks this last season. Okay, so, and of course, it was his first season. It's an apples and oranges comparison, but he's getting sacked a fair amount in the pocket. I think it was 43 times, in 2022, 22 times this last season. And also, he's taken 129 sacks over 5 seasons. When you look at different things that happen when he has mental lapses, again, he can miss wide open targets downfield because he becomes so preoccupied to run instead. He can throw some ill-advised passes, and there's numerous occasions on game film where he throws short of the sticks on critical third down situations and they didn't pick up the third down. Pro Football Focus says that Jayden Daniels has a 2.91 second time to release. What does that mean? What is the translation? Again, apples to oranges because we're going to college to pro, but when you look at PFF compared to the stat line on Next Gen Stats, 2.91 seconds, guys, is the same as Zach Wilson with the New York Jets, who has been a bust up in New York. I'm seeing, in conclusion, Daniels is a high-level NFL backup type. I know that's a very unpopular opinion, but it's something where I feel very strongly he's the type of guy who can come in and provide a much-needed spark for an offense. He again, a very high injury risk, and that must be mitigated. I feel as far as the risk analysis, it must be taken into account, the high injury risk along with the other factors I talked about. Bottom line, Jayden Daniels will be a bust. You can quote me on that, highlight it. He will be a bust if he's taken in the first round and designated as a starter right off the bat in the National Football League. Keep in mind, he's probably, if the NFL and the national media get their way, he might go, in the top 15. He's going into a bad situation with a team with a bad record, more than likely. Expectations are going to be sky high coming in there. There's this Lamar Jackson comp out there, which I think is extremely unfair to Jayden Daniels, to compare a rookie to the possible NFL MVP. That's going to set the bar really high right off the bat. The groundwork is there. Okay, the groundwork is there for him to be a surefire bust if he's taken in the first round and designated as a starter. The thing that will ruin him as a starter in the National Football League is the fact that his it's short to intermediate game is mid, okay? Like they like to say in social media. And that's where a majority of offensive plays are scripted by NFL offensive coordinators on a game-to-game basis at short to intermediate route level. And everybody focuses on the running, everyone focuses on the deep game, but where we're not focusing on, what we need to have a national conversation about is how average Jayden Daniels looked passing the ball in the short to intermediate route range. Your thoughts, Mr. Landers?
Well said, Mr. Kelly. As always, bring that heat each and every single week. When I look at Jayden Daniels, he really personifies the current generation of quarterbacks, where you are, in a sense, kind of a run first, pass second in a way. You mentioned it. I describe him as jittery in the pocket. You see him. Good
analysis.
He kind of seems like he's a cartoon character when he has too much coffee. He's just kind of bouncing around and looking to scramble, which, as you mentioned, can be good. It can lead to some positive yardages, but it could also be his downfall, as you mentioned, with the amount of sacks he's had, just trying to do maybe a little bit too much and trying to play a little too much hero ball. Now, no doubt, he's got some toughness, obviously. For his small frame, he's not afraid to take big hits, which for college, like I said, he's had a relatively healthy career, but he's going into the NFL where they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, and they are going to hit a lot harder. So whatever team he goes to, they will tell him, look, you are not a Josh Allen type of player who runs for contact, or Patrick Mahomes per se. You have to get down or else you will get lit up each and every single Sunday. That's just something he has to learn at the next level. Obviously, his interception or his touchdown to interception ratio is fantastic. You can look at the numbers and how well that is. He's good at keeping the ball out of the defender's hands. We mentioned he's got great speed. He loves to attack downfield as well. You mentioned DK. He's got that great long, deep field accuracy that's coveted in the National Football League, going for those big plays. But, I mean, that's the thing with him. He's got a little bit of a longer release, like you said, 2.91, a little bit in the long side, just with how his motion is. And it's going to be curious to see, because we know that the talent that was at that LSU team, just with Malik Neighbors, Kayshon Boutte, just to name a few, how good of a wide receiver room. I mean, that's the big thing with a lot of these guys who come out of college is, they had, good stats. You can see how well he did. But in the NFL is where you really can see, was it the quarterback or was it the receivers that made said quarterback? Jayden Daniels, it remains to be seen. I like the young man, but like you said, there's a few flags that need to be put up. For me, it's his size. Obviously, he's going to be one of the most small players I've seen in the NFL. I mean, you see, everyone was talking about Jalen Hurts and whatnot and how he's a tiny guy. I mean, Jalen Hurts looks like Hulk Hogan compared to Jayden Daniels. and that's not a shot at Jayden Daniels.
No, it is, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It is. Absolutely.
It is. And that's just how his body frame is. He can't, he can bulk up and get some more muscle, of course, but that's just how his current frame looks. But I like Jayden Daniels. I think he's a good quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see, though, where he goes. But like you said, everyone looks at the highs, but sometimes you have to look past that. We know he's got a lot of pros, but yes, he also does have some cons. You got to have, as you mentioned, DK, and I'll reiterate on this, if you don't have that good short to intermediate route, that 5 to 10 to maybe 15 yards, a little less than that, you are not going to be able to make it in today's NFL with how good defenses are. And I think that Jayden Daniels is going to be a good prospect if he goes to the right team, if he gets the right coaching. But I'm not sold on him being just the be-all, end-all of quarterbacks in this draft, at least. I think he's got good talent. I think, obviously, he showed it, winning the Heisman Trophy, well-deserved. But I am not sold yet on the young man out of LSU. Mr. Kelly, your final thoughts.
Well, Mr. Landers, you bring up a lot of very good points that I echo and I agree with. It's he does. That's part of the intrigue. He does fit this NFL trend, Patrick Mahomes craze. These quarterbacks can move around and run. That's all fine and dandy, but there's only one Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is everybody tried to be Joe Montana back in the 80s and with the West Coast offense, and there was one Joe Montana. And so when we look at a Jayden Daniels, I think to your points, I think with the flags you're talking about, we do. And that's what I believe in at FirstRoundMock.com is I believe in a balanced narrative. I'm not doing this for clicks. I'm not just hype. I'm balancing the narrative on these guys because it's the right and fair and truthful thing to do. Setting unrealistic expectations and setting the bar up here and say, okay, guys, here comes Lamar Jackson Jr., is ridiculous because it's you got to look at who he is as a prospect. And we have to ask ourselves the tough questions that nobody wants to talk about, but it needs to be discussed on a national level. And that's this. And you hit on it. We're talking about this 2.91 time to throw. 3 seconds. I mean, that's it takes me more than 3 seconds to get to my microwave. Big deal, right? Well, not in the NFL. It's a big deal. It's 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. You're hit in the mouth. It's you got to get the ball to your hands. And this is the challenge we've seen. Listen, Justin Fields was my QB1 in 2021 coming into the draft. But I evaluate every single snap of Justin Fields this past season for Yard Barker. And the problem there is the pre and post snap recognition is too slow with Justin Fields right now. And that's why he's got the slowest time to throw in the NFL, according to Next Gen Stats at 3.23 seconds, I believe, is because of that. Okay. We have to ask ourselves the tough questions. Can Jayden Daniels even read college level defensive coverages? Is that a valid question? It is. Why? Well, you touched on it, Mr. Landers. He's got weapons. He's got weapons at LSU. He had Kayshon Boutte you talked about. He's got Malik Neighbors. He's got Brian Thomas Jr. He's got the 12th best offensive line that was nominated for some big award this year with the offensive line there. This is not everyone says, oh, Shedeur Sanders, the offensive line's terrible, blah blah blah. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a very good offensive line with a lot of weapons at his disposal. And with that type of athleticism and running ability that he has, why is it taking him 2.91 seconds to unload the ball? What's going on back there is the question every NFL general manager has to answer and for themselves.
Yes, sir. Well said, Mr. Kelly. As always, you broke it down beautifully, as you do each and every single week. It's an absolute pleasure, my friend, talking some sports, talking some draft prospects with you. Well, guys, as always, I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. If you enjoy the video, give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe on our social media platforms and on our podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. Available each and every single week. For Mr. Daniel Kelly, I've been your host, producer. Once again, Logan Landers. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you all again on another live episode. We'll see you soon.